Should we start with David Lammy? And big announcement today, huge backlogs, years of delay in the court system. He is saying there's going to have to be restrictions on the number of cases which now go to a full jury trial. The complication for David Lammy is that 5 years ago, when this was being mooted during the pandemic by the then Conservative government, he was rather critical. Jury trials are a fundamental part of our democratic settlement. Criminal trials without juries are a bad idea. He actually went further. This is what he put on Twitter in June 2020. Robert Buckland is wrong to consider proposals to limit jury trials for certain offences. The right to trial by your fellow citizens is fundamental to our democracy. It would be wrong of the government to abandon this valuable tradition for short-term benefit. Now, of course, that is what he is doing, but he says it's a court's emergency. He has no choice.
Look, the jury principle is just too important, I'm afraid. It just is so important. We cannot surrender the principle of a jury trial because of the backlog. They're going to have to find another way around it. This is too important, it's too integral. David Lammy was spot on in 2020 when he opposed that idea, mooted by the Tories because of what was happening during the pandemic. It's been around since Magna Carta in 1215. It is so fundamental and so British and important, he's got to abandon it.
I prefer the old David Lammy to the current David Lammy. I did actually on Donald Trump as well, when he used to call him a Ku Klux Klan supporting misogynist. Now he's all over him like a rash as Deputy Prime Minister, which is the other part of his job. There is an enormous backlog inherited from the last lot, and it's got to be tackled. But the way isn't to abolish jury trials, it's to make sure there can be more jury trials.
They aren't abolishing jury trials.
Well, they are in a lot of cases. I mean, look, there's only 3% of cases are jury trials now, because they are the most serious. Was it 30,000 a year? Most people will be dealt with in a magistrate's court. But they are important where your liberty is seriously engendered.
The problem is, David Lammy in that tweet says, criminal trials without juries are a bad idea. Yep. But criminal trials, only 13% of criminal trials go to jury. That's because smaller cases in the magistrates, but also if you plead guilty, there's no jury trial. Yeah. So it's most of the court time is taken up by jury trials, but not most of the cases. So this idea that criminal trials without juries are a bad idea, I mean, that's actually what we do most of the time.
But he's going to take it away completely from a lot of these trials, and that's not right.
Not completely.
But, well, the most serious cases.
And also you have, some cases you have a choice where, depending on the sentence, you can opt for a magistrate's court or you can go to Crown Court. This is England and Wales.
And he's going to stop that.
Yeah. And I think that is wrong. Also, I can see in, like, complex fraud cases, which can last a year or longer, getting a jury is very difficult, and maybe there you have a judge and try.
That's a different argument, though. That's about complexity and juries understanding very detailed, technical information.
Yes, there's been a change to libel cases. They used to be before juries, now they're before a judge.
The accused person, in my view, has to have the right to have that trial heard by 12 men and women, good and true. That's always been the principle. And I'm sorry, I just don't trust
the serious offences.
For serious offences.
Not for magistrate cases.
No, and I don't trust the groupthink often of judges. I just don't.
So David Lammy has written in the Daily Telegraph this morning. So just to explain to people, only defendants accused of crimes likely to merit sentences of more than 5 years, murder, rape, other serious sexual offences, terrorism, manslaughter, GBH and possession of firearms, would now be entitled to have their case heard before a jury. So at least the very serious cases will still be heard in front of 12 good men and true. Defendants charged with what are known as either-way offences, and that's where the suspect, the defendant, can choose whether it's heard by a magistrate or whether it's heard by a jury. They would be stripped of their right to elect for a jury trial. And the decision will be taken by judges. So if you're charged with burglary, affray, fraud, criminal damage, and then magistrates will have their powers extended. But I think the point is, people instinctively just feel you want the choice.
You do.
If you were ever in that situation, you'd want 12 of your peers to decide, and that is what's being taken away.
The interesting thing, in 1832, my great-great-great-great-grandfather was hauled before the courts in Norwich, accused of burning down a farm in the swing riots of 1832, and even though he was being charged by the Crown and the system, he was found not guilty by a jury.
By a jury.
And if he'd been found guilty, it would have been not deportation, but been hanging.
Good Lord.
He would have been hung. At the time, it was
my
burning
goodness.
a farm with livestock.
Yeah.
And that was a capital offence. And it was amazing. It was a jury which saved his life. He ended up in the workhouse in Norfolk, and that's where he died. But he would have been hung in Norwich, and a jury saved him.
To be fair, if that was now, presumably the sentence would be so serious that he would still be tried by a jury under David Lammy's proposals.
Yeah, but I don't think he'd have been hung for it. Not anymore.
Well,
that's now gone.
That is certainly true. And that's not what David Lammy is suggesting.
I don't know what the sentences are for arson, which it would be.
But the swing riots were an amazing moment of history.
But you go back to the Magna Carta 1215. Basically, the barons wanted to curtail the power of the king, John, at the time, and that's where jury trials were essentially founded. So otherwise, a king would say, right, he, she, guilty, off you go.
Yeah. Absolutely.
But of course, Lammy is now saying the Magna Carta also said you had to have justice. You couldn't keep delaying it, otherwise the king could lock you up for 20 years and the case would never come to court. And he's saying, well, that's happening now. But I think he's not going to get very far when the Magna Carta really was about your peers trying you.
If you're the Justice Secretary and you've got these massive delays, people are waiting 4 or 5 years, and people thinking if I go and plead not guilty, there'll be so much time passed that you'll all get forgotten. What does he do if he's not speeding the system up in this way? They're already spending loads of money to have the court sitting more hours, although, to be honest, these court systems, are they that efficient?
No. And I think, what is it, 10 till 4? Do they ever work weekends? They've got to be. He's got to find a more imaginative way than surrendering such an important principle.
A lot of courts were closed under the last lot. You're not going to be able to reopen them quickly, but that's where you have to drive. You have to go to the Chancellor, Rachel Reeves, and said you've now got a 20 billion piggy bank fund for a rainy day. You've doubled it. May we have some of that, please?
This is what he said in June 2020. He said the government needs to pull their finger out and acquire empty public buildings across the country to make sure these trials can happen in a way that
there we are, then.
Safe.
There's a practical solution.
Is it going to get through, Kevin? I mean, is this, it feels... I think there's a real groundswell amongst legal experts, David Lammy himself a couple of years ago, this doesn't feel right. But the government has a majority in Parliament. Is he going to get these reforms through?
It doesn't have a majority in the House of Lords, which can only...
and this isn't in the manifesto.
There's a lot of ex-lawyers
well, there's a lot of judges.
There,
OK, so
I think he's got a huge battle.
The Lords will throw it out, and then it'll go backwards and forwards. They call it ping-pong,
And we've already seen this government losing the Lords over workers' rights, day one rights,
well, that was appalling
and have to row back on that. So interesting. OK, so it could be the House of Lords.
But he did have this report from Lord Levinson, who recommended this. There was a suggestion a week ago that he might have gone further.
Yeah, Levinson didn't go as far as this.
No, but I think he's now coming back to Levinson. Right. Isn't what's going to happen in Parliament? There'll be a decision to restrict it some and to make it time limited and make it about dealing with the emergency position. And on that basis, then it goes through. But if it becomes like a kind of breach of a principle, then you have huge Lords opposition.
Yeah, I think a temporary emergency often becomes permanent.
That's
I think people will be quite aware.
You wouldn't trust them. You wouldn't trust them to ever bring it back.
He might be able to bulldoze it through. He might actually be able to do it, but his reputation will suffer enormous damage on the way.
I just think, why does this Labour government pick these incredibly stupid fights?
Well, I think...
Well, I suppose... Look, speeding up the way that the courts operate doesn't feel like a stupid fight. That feels like a...
But
I'm not sure
taking away
that...
an 800-year-old right does.
Well, and victims will think this is the right thing to do, even if the accused don't.
Yeah, because, well, especially if you're a victim and you feel like your case is not being heard because there's no room in the court.
But they have. But the Conservatives prided themselves, posed as the party of law and order. And as you know, it became lawlessness and disorder. All the police cuts, cutting the judicial system to the bone. It was a terrible,
And not building
false
prisons.
economy.
No.
Right, shall we talk about what's happening with the Prime Minister and the Chancellor? Do you think they've managed to wriggle out of this accusation that they lied to the country over the state of the country's finances and the suggestion they might have to put up taxes? And then, oh my goodness, suddenly we found a whole lot more money and we don't have to put up taxes. And the OBR saying, I don't know why you're saying that, because we told you that a couple of weeks ago.
I think her position's become more difficult with the resignation of the head of the OBR, the Office of Budget Responsibility, for inadvertently leaking the budget 45 minutes before she stood up, because she willfully and deliberately leaked stuff about her budget, which was in flat contradiction with what the OBR had told her about the state of the economy.
Which is what actually the Independent report on their front page, their front page is OBR chief forced out after contradicting Chancellor over budget black hole. I mean, he's resigned. He said last week that he would have an independent report and then act on the basis of what the Chancellor wanted. And he has resigned, and he says he's doing the right and the honourable thing. But if the Chancellor had said to him, don't resign, would he have resigned anyway? And did the Chancellor say to him, you should resign?
And he was due to give evidence today to a committee of MPs where he could have been very critical about the information that he supplied, the OBR supplied to the Treasury and the Chancellor, but now he's been taken out.
But
so
they
he
can
won't
call
be giving
him.
that evidence
They can
out.
call. I hope the Treasury Select Committee calls him so he can give evidence and answer those questions. We don't know the sources who are saying he was forced out, but it seems to have been a terrible row. I did instantly...
He did say in the press conference last Thursday that he would do what the Chancellor and the Chair of the Select Committee thought was the right thing on the basis of the report.
The Prime Minister didn't back him yesterday. And it's very hard if you're in a public body and you haven't got the backing of the Prime Minister. I did instantly think when the budget was published early, accidentally, carelessly, by the Office of Budget Responsibility, that the head would have to go and they would change it. And I think he's quite honourable to do that, but he's held himself to a higher level of account than many cabinet ministers do.
By the way, the Chancellor,
after there are disasters in their organisations.
The Chancellor did not give evidence, did not appear in the Commons yesterday to talk about this OBR statement. She sent her deputy...
Oh, you'd expect that, though.
Will she be called to give evidence to the Treasury Select Committee?
She is.
She will.
So is that happening today?
Not today, I don't think.
I'm not sure when she is up.
But that's going to be a very difficult moment. And
Isn't it?
that's why I still think she's in deep, deep political
So this
difficulty.
isn't over?
No.
Because I can imagine that viewers will think, who cares if who's the head of the Office for Budget Responsibility? Who cares if they go?
Yeah.
They're wondering, can the Chancellor keep her job?
That's right.
And
should she?
The
No.
Prime Minister yesterday came out fighting for the Chancellor and said she didn't mislead, even though members of the Cabinet
Say
are
she did.
saying even they felt misled.
Right, there were some good... I think taking 500,000 kids out of poverty is a great thing in the budget. Money off people's fuel bills, that's good. All being drowned out. But I think with the Chancellor, where she'll be very happy and where the Prime Minister will not want to lose her, is that budget went down well with those powerful financial markets, you know, the people you borrow money from. I mean, that's if you remove her, you can cause problems there, which I think she's time limited. Has she got another week? Has she got another year? She's not going to be there at the general election. But you always have to say that. They always say that.
I mean, this was Keir Starmer yesterday in his post-budget speech talking about the manifesto and whether they broke the manifesto or not.
Let's have a look.
In a bad place to start with. We worked through our principles. There was a point at which I thought we might have to breach the manifesto. I was always wanting to know if there are alternatives to that, and the point came when there was an alternative to that, and that's the route that we took.
So he ended up in the budget, he and the Chancellor, not breaking the manifesto, he says, by freezing personal allowances, which the Chancellor a year ago said she wouldn't do because that would hurt working people and break the manifesto. This is quite complicated to understand.
Yeah, but he's referring there to tax rates, isn't he? That's what he's using and ignoring other bits of the
Millions
manifesto.
more people be paying more income tax because of that budget decision. So that is a rise in their taxes. And the manifesto said no tax rises for working people.
Can they win the argument that they haven't broken the manifesto?
No. And I don't know why they're trying. They should just be honest about it.
No, but what they're relying on is you get the next general election, people's living standards have improved. I mean,
just
the
keep lying and lying.
They fell. Was it a real disposable household income is the key figure? It fell in the last Parliament for the first time.
Right.
It'll rise in this Parliament, the forecast, but it's not going to rise very much.
The last Parliament was the worst for decades, and
this one's going to be the second worst.
The second worst.
Yeah, no, yeah.
And this you know,
You wouldn't write that in a manifesto, would you?
would not.
But people, you know, if you've improved public services, and she's accumulated enough money to cancel some of those tax rises and raise the threshold, then she's in a different position. Well,
can we talk about the story on the front of your paper this morning, Kevin? Because this is remarkable. Police could bring corporate manslaughter charges in cases where post office staff took their own lives as a result of the Horizon scandal. Around 13 people believed to have ended their lives in relation to the scandal. We know, of course, Mr. Bates in the post office, you know, sort of raised this issue, brought it to widespread attention, even though lots of journalists, lots of campaigners had been working on it behind the scenes for a number of years. One sub-postmaster said it's an important step towards justice for those responsible to be held to account. The National Police Chiefs Council says its investigation is considering corporate and gross negligent manslaughter charges. No arrests yet made, but there are a total of 53 persons of interest involved in the investigation. Well, what a remarkable piece of progress on this.
Yeah, and 13 people took their lives after, you know, they are working in their community, in their post office.
Falsely accused of stealing.
Yes, of stealing. Losing their reputation, losing their job. It's difficult to prove. Wonder if the case will be heard before a jury trial or somebody else if they come forward. But I think it's quite right. When you consider that scandal, it's not just the billion plus that's gone out in compensation, it's the way people's lives were absolutely ruined. And the people responsible, covering up faults in the system, blaming the individuals when it wasn't them, some type of conspiracy. We'll find out, you know, let's tell nobody, just tell them they're on their own, nobody else, this is happening too. We got computer glitches, but we'll pretend we haven't. It's just not enough. That some people might lose their jobs because they were part of that, or they're just allowed to go off in other jobs, or allowed to have really big fat pensions.
Andrew, that point about when they phone the helpline, the difference it might have made to your state of mind if the person on the helpline had said, yes, we're getting reports of a glitch, don't worry, we're trying to fix it, it's not your problem, it's our problem. But instead they were told, you're the only one to whom this is happening.
They were lied to.
And then investigators come in to the post office to find out why they've been stealing money.
There was a complete culture of dishonesty in the post office and in the people who made this the Horizon IT system. There should be criminal prosecutions. There really should be. 13 people have lost their lives. Other people lost their fortunes. Years of psychological damage. And these postmasters and postmistresses were often the stalwart of the local community, really looked up to and respected. Really trusted.
Yeah, and then to be accused of actually stealing money from your community.
It's one of the biggest stains on public life,
And that company was Fujitsu, big
Fujitsu,
Japanese IT company. So it's the Fujitsu post office scandal. And Fujitsu is still holding and winning government contracts.
It's extraordinary, that.
Isn't it?
It is true, isn't it, when you think about it? There's been lots of court cases so far in the civil courts.
But
if you were talking about a corporate manslaughter charge here, that is exactly the kind of case where you would want a jury to hear the evidence.
You would. Absolutely right. And that's why we've got to keep these juries.
Yeah, absolutely right. Shall we... This is interesting. And quite sad, and feeds into our incredible 1 million minutes campaign. Now, we are currently, Sam, I think you have the counter. So we are currently up to almost 25 million minutes pledged by you amazing viewers. And Downing Street is part of the campaign this morning because it is lit up in blue, which is the theme of the campaign. Huge number of national landmarks lit up in blue to mark our 1 Million Minutes campaign. This is all about tackling loneliness. And Age UK today have released figures. Around 1.5 million pensioners will spend Christmas Day alone. It's breaking my heart.
It is sad, isn't it? Yeah.
11% of those that they polled would eat Christmas dinner by themselves, while 5% would not see or speak to anyone during the entire day. Dame Joanna Lumley, who is an Age UK ambassador, said the figures are a crisis hidden in plain sight and warned that silence can be deafening. I know how important it is to have the television on for many people who are alone, which is why, you know, I feel it's always a privilege when we broadcast on Christmas Day, because you feel like you are company for people. But it's 1.5 million people spending Christmas alone.
So sad.
It's, you know, it's often because people don't have children, they don't have family.
Yeah.
Just so sad.
Yeah, and it's not they've chosen to go wild camping in the Lake District on their own for that reason. You know, they're at home and they're isolated. It's absolutely dreadful. And I think on Christmas particularly, nobody should spend it alone and isolated.
And that's why all these
if they want to be with other people.
That do Christmas lunches are so important. I mean, the local pub where I live, they get local pensioners on their own in for Christmas lunch in the local pub, which is a lovely thing to do, and it's all paid for by the locals.
But it can be as simple as just walking 2 doors down, knocking on the door and saying, Merry Christmas, have a quality street. We've only got the toffees left. Or whatever it is.
Have you got your dentures?
Maybe not. Actually.
I think I'd rather be on my own.
It'll last you all Christmas Day. You'll be all right.
We should say the charities. I mean, the amazing thing about Million Minutes is we're not asking for money.
No.
It's just about people committing their time. And the charities you can sign up to support and give your time to are Alzheimer's Research UK, Home Start UK, Re-Engage, Royal Voluntary Service, the Chatty Cafe Scheme, Trussell Trust, and Winston's Wish. And all the details are on our website.
If you open your phone and put it on camera and scan that QR code in the corner of the screen when it comes up, you can pledge your time. And we're so grateful that you do. The Prime Minister says, loneliness can affect anyone, and giving just a little bit of your time can change a life. He says, I want to thank Good Morning Britain for their 1 Million Minutes campaign and commend all those who have pledged their minutes to help end loneliness across the UK.
Brilliant. And while, you know, calling you out unfairly here, Andrew, I mean, have you ever actually scanned a QR code?
I did it on this programme last year for this
very
appeal.
It was
painful. And have you retired from it?
I had to be shown how to do it.
Could you tell our viewers now how to do it?
No, I can't remember.
No. Oh, come on. You get your
I am a bit of a Luddite.
Get your phone out.
The Luddites are all right, actually.
Yeah.
Only
Point it at the screen like that.
And a little link
Top
will
round
come
corner.
up.
Right.
Where am I pointing? There we are.
Okay.
And then the link comes up, you press it, and you're on the website.
Right, OK.
That is...
I'll do it.
In a couple of minutes, we're going to talk to a chap, Barry, who 2 years ago was on a Calls with Care scheme under the 1 Million Minutes initiative. And he's 92 years old. He lives on his own. And back in December 2023, he met Mark, a volunteer that he was paired with, taking part in Calls with Care. It's a volunteer scheme with the Royal Voluntary Service. And they met each other on the Good Morning Britain sofa. And as a result, they're going to meet up again on the 17th of December to have a nice Christmas lunch together. And it's all because of the importance of these connecting people, whether it's by phone, whether it's chatty cafes, whether it's chatter chairs, all these schemes in order to get people talking.
Or just Kevin and Andrew having a chat.
It's really heartwarming, though, isn't it? Because I, like you thought, 1.5 million people on their own at Christmas. You know, you feel it, it's heartbreaking. And then you watch that and you just feel quite emotional in a very different way. Because it doesn't mean you have to have somebody into your house on Christmas Day. It means popping round or meeting them at other times. By all means, have them in your house on Christmas Day.
And since we started this conversation, Kevin, since we started this conversation 10 minutes ago, we've already put on 5 million minutes.
Amazing.
We're now at 29. We're at 30
million.
now. We were just about to go through 25. We're at 30. That's 5 billion minutes in this conversation. I mean, that's amazing.
Most people are decent and generous,
Yes.
aren't they? I mean, we often talk about those who are rogues and do bad things. But, you know, this is a moment to celebrate and encourage all those who are just publicly, civically, neighbourly minded.
And also, I mean, my heart goes out to anyone who might be on their own this Christmas because they've lost someone recently.
Always the hardest time.
Very tough.
Yeah.
Very tough.